Alright, hello everybody. Today we're going to be looking at the kind of ending of Unit 2, which is drugs and the altered mind. For this video, we're going to be quickly going over just some of the main categories of drugs, as well as some specifically. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, well, first thing is the idea of addiction when it comes to drugs. The idea of addiction is a compulsive craving that we have for either a substance or a specific behavior. So the idea of addiction isn't just from a drug like, for example, cocaine or caffeine. It can also be certain behaviors that we do. Things like being on our phone, gambling, sex, drugs, a wide variety of different kind of addictive qualities that we can take on. Now, how addiction works is we have the neurotransmitter dopamine that is inside the brain, and these receptors can become very addictive. So dopamine is something that drives this overall addiction that can occur. Now, if we're doing a behavior or taking a drug for an extended period of time, we need to increase our amount of either the behavior or the drug itself in quantity to have the same energetic dopamine high that we had, our first early times doing this behavior. So, for example, if you were gambling at first, you might gamble very sporadically, and the dopamine might, be a pleasant experience for the individual. But over time, you're going to need more high stakes gambling, more quantity of gambling to have that same effect. Same thing with drugs. Maybe you might feel energetic and alert with one scoop of pre-workout when it comes to caffeine, but if you do that every single time you go to the gym, you might need 2 to 3 scoops to feel that same original effect. Now, stopping a drug is extremely difficult on the body as well, with the idea of withdrawal. Withdrawal is the idea that we have negative symptoms when we stop either a drug or a behavior. So, for example, if we stop caffeine, some of our withdrawal symptoms could be potentially headaches, agitation, sleepiness, drowsiness, etc. Other things, for example, like stopping gambling can cause us to have elevated heart rates. It can cause us to be agitated or aggressive. So basically, withdrawal is the negative aspects or the fallout of stopping some addictive behavior. Our brain is still searching for that boost of dopamine and will react with these physical symptoms as well as psychological ones like agitation or aggression. Now, the 3 major drug categories are stimulants, which increase and kind of energize our body's nervous system. Depressants, which are the opposite, that cause a decrease in our nervous system and kind of relaxes us. And hallucinogens, which distort our perception of our senses. So it can cause us to have vivid hallucinations, it can cause us to have distorted hearing and audition, or it can have us experience the world around us differently. Now, when it comes to concepts of drugs, we have antagonists and agonists. Antagonists block neurotransmitters and decrease their effect. What this means is they weaken certain neurotransmitters and their effect on the body. They can block pain. They can cause us to calm down and not be as stressed, for example. They block certain thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Agonists, on the other hand, do the opposite. They actually mimic the neurotransmitters, and they actually increase the effect. They make the effects of something like dopamine more intense and a longer effect. Think of something like cocaine. It activates this dopamine receptor and has it amplified instead of a 5 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. Agonists, they amplify and kind of explode and increase the effect, where antagonists block and decrease. Stimulants, as we said, they energize our body and our nervous system. All you need to know for the exam is that caffeine is one that causes increased alertness, but also decreased fatigue. Cocaine is another example of a stimulant that is extremely addictive, especially with dopamine, and a crash from this withdrawal-wise can cause extreme irritation or aggression at times. Depressants, these are ones that actually relax and slow our nervous system down. Think of things such as alcohol, benzodiazepines, opioids, as well as barbiturates. These types of drugs are ones that actually slow the nervous system. They reduce pain or anxiety. They cause a euphoric relaxation effect. And they are a high risk of things such as overdoses as well. Some drug examples could be like heroin, morphine, fentanyl, and Oxycontin. And our last one is hallucinogens. Hallucinogens are the type of drugs that change our perception and our thoughts. They can also distort the senses that we see around us. They can cause thought changes, different types of perceptual kind of reflections. It can cause visual or auditory hallucinations and physical or emotional releases. Some drugs that kind of fall into this category is marijuana, for example. It causes a relaxing effect, but also distorts our perception of taste, could distort time, especially with high dosages. It can also change how we perceive sound or just kind of our own spatial awareness. Psilocybin is a drug that is a natural fungus. This causes more stronger sensory hallucinations, things such as seeing fractals, seeing types of symbols and shapes, as well as change of thought patterns. All right, well, that's it for our unit. This is a very short video going over kind of the remaining aspects of drugs. We went over the three major concepts. We walked through the depressants, hallucinogens, as well as the stimulants. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.